Before I begin, let me just say this. I was trying to get as much information I can on the situation, so I don't end up spreading misinformation. First and foremost, I am an entertainer. My intention is not to spread misinformation, cause drama by lies and slander. I want to entertain people, but with the information available. I'll have my own thoughts. Opinions are different from facts, obviously. We're on the internet. We need to be told that 1,000 times in a row. But the reason I say that is because I've been through so many news sites trying to get the information necessary, and half of them don't even get to the point. And it's like they either like to dance around or say completely different things. So, thanks, internet. If I end up saying something that's not true, I'm going to look like the asshole. But no. Anyway, Dan Schneider, he was the showrunner. You may know him for many famous live-action Nickelodeon series. He was a showrunner for all that. He created many of Nickelodeon's famous live-action sitcoms, including The Amanda Show, What I Like About You, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious, Sam and Cat, Henry Danger, Game Shakers, and The Adventures of Kid Danger. However, recently, Dan Schneider was fired from Nickelodeon, mainly because of his behavior. For example, apparently when he heard that Game Shakers was not getting another season, many of the sources I looked into didn't specify, but he didn't control his temper very well. I don't know exactly what he did, because once again, these sites like to dawdle around the topic like, oh, he let his temper out. Okay, what'd he do? Oh, he just let his temper out. Thanks, sites. I'm gonna look like an idiot. It's probably gonna be like really obvious, like on this one other site that I didn't even see. Oh, it's on here, dumbass. It's on his Wikipedia page. I looked on that too. But anyway, the biggest reason was mainly because how he treated the other teenage and child actors. He apparently abused them in many different ways. And apparently this was going on for years. I don't know how long exactly. For all we know, this could have been going on since the Amanda Show days. But if it really was going on for years, and that's all we know, it's been going on for years. And it wasn't like a recent thing. But if it was really going on for that long, to say years, why didn't Nickelodeon step in sooner? My theory is this. It's going to make Nickelodeon look sick. But here's the thing. When it comes to business, you have a very successful creator. You have someone that knows how to make a great show. You have a great writer. And they essentially made some of your greatest hits. Let's say they get into a bit of trouble, like, as a random example, a DUI. And it gets all over the news, and you think, oh, I have to get this person fired because they're representing my company. But at the same time, they also made all of these other things that are extremely successful. And unless the accident affected him in that regard, then that would be seen as sort of a negative impact. But negative in the sense that he wouldn't be able to create another hit. And I think that's why Nickelodeon kept Dan Schneider. Mainly because he made Drake and Josh, he made iCarly, he made Zoe 101, he made Victorious. But that's my theory. That's not stone cold fact. He's a very successful creator. He was essentially the live-action equivalent to Klasky Csupo, who basically made the majority of Nickelodeon's 90s lineup, like Rugrats, As Told by Ginger, Wild Thornberrys, Our Monsters, and Rocket Power. I almost forgot the name for a second. I was just going to say The Rocket for some reason. Who the hell's The Rocket? But why now? Why would they decide just to get rid of him now? Well, maybe his shows weren't doing as well anymore. Every company is going through sort of a transitional phase because of the internet. Everyone's trying to move on to apps. Companies like Cartoon Network, Adult Swim are trying to have their own strange little approach to streaming, which I will never understand. Essentially, if you want to watch an episode of, let's say, I don't know, as a random example, Steven Universe on the Cartoon Network website, you wouldn't just put in a random amount of money, like $10 a month to watch whatever you want. No, you have to contact your internet provider. Why not just make it simple? Why? But we're in this weird transitional phase, and of course, everything is changing. Tons of companies and stores are going out of business because of companies like Amazon are making things so much more convenient. The postal services are going down because of emails. And of course, TV is going down, and many people believe there isn't that much time left for TV until streaming and internet completely take over in the world of entertainment. I don't even know what's going to happen to movie theaters. So maybe these changes are affecting more than we think. perhaps maybe the ratings of Dan Schneider's shows. So, since his behavior hasn't changed, yet the ratings may have, and I know there's probably a way to look up ratings on the internet. I've tried multiple times, but Jesus. If there's a website to just tell you every show's ratings, and to give you like a side-by-side comparison of what's good and what's bad, that'd be great, please. But anyway, that's just my theory on the subject. Maybe his shows aren't doing as well, so they don't see as much of a reason to keep him. Or maybe another reason is that Nickelodeon's going through their own change. Companies will just sometimes randomly go through their own transitional phase, like maybe a new CEO, or maybe they have a different direction they want to take. They have been making more animated series as of late, and they have been revolving around more 90s nostalgia. Like with the Hey Arnold Jungle movie, the new Rocco special, the new Invader Zim special that are coming out. Even though Invader Zim, I think, came in the early 2000s, not the 90s. But anyway, what I'm saying is Nickelodeon's going through a change, and they're trying to adapt, and maybe they realize either they don't need Dan Schneider, or another possibility, and I highly doubt this considering how cheap these shows are, maybe they're coming to the conclusion that they don't want the live-action shows anymore. They want to focus purely on animation. Now, that I kind of doubt, because the live-action shows are so cheap, they're bound to get their money back no matter what. I mean, like, many people hate the live-action sitcoms on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel. Went back when Cartoon Network tried to do CN Real, despite the fact it was called Cartoon Network. But these shows are so cheap and easy to make, they're going to get their money back no matter what. It's sort of like back in the craze when, the cartoon to movie phase is going on, like Recess the movie, Pokemon the movie. Those movies typically didn't have a big budget because they're basically just slightly higher quality from TV production. So, no matter what, they were going to get their money back. And I guess it's a similar ideology to the live-action shows that are going on here. Sorry for that brief silence. I almost knocked my bottle of water over, and I basically just had an aneurysm. Moving on. Now, as for what's going to happen now, I don't know. What's Dan Schneider going to do? I don't know. All I'm saying is, Nickelodeon's going through their own transitional phase, and so is every other company. The internet is literally changing everything at this moment. We're in this weird transitional period for entertainment, especially in the world of TV, animation, movies. Essentially, everyone's coming to the conclusion that streaming is the future, and they're not wrong. Streaming is definitely the way to go, but still people are trying to, try and see if they can change things up a bit, maybe seeing if they could bring people back to TV, or something along those lines. I am not entirely sure. But all I know is, Dan Schneider got fired. That means, all I know is, I wasn't even going to say anything. Didn't even have anything in my head. Why do I say these things? But with that being said, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future. I know I think it's Henry Danger. Let me look this up, because I know I'm right on the page anyway, so, anyway. Okay, here. On March 26, 2018, Nickelodeon announced that it would not be extending its production deal with Schneider and Schneider's Bakery. In addition, the network also announced that Schneider's comedy Game Shakers will not be renewed for a fourth season. Schneider's remaining comedy Henry Danger, however, that's the show I was looking for. It will be renewed for a fifth season, so despite the fact that he's not there anymore, they're still going to continue at least one of his shows. Because I've heard Henry Danger is a big success for... maybe it is. I've heard that it's basically... it's doing alright from what I've heard. Which also makes me wonder if it's doing well. If Henry Danger is at least doing well, and... I don't know, maybe that disproves my whole theory of that why they kept Dan Schneider in the first place. Maybe Nickelodeon literally didn't know what was going on. I don't know, I doubt it. What do I know? I'm just a fucking 22-year-old emo kid who's just living in an apartment not knowing what to do with his life.